Welcome back. At the stop and frisk trial as it goes on, a less than flattering portrait of the NYPD's emerged. Leaders of the police department offered a sorry rationale for its practice of the controversial practice. Now, 10% of its officers are lazy and need an incentive to get out of their squad cars. That is what we heard here. Joseph Goldstein of the Times said, quote, some police officers need to be weaned off the idea that they are paid to drive around in their patrol cars eating donuts. Dominic, I cannot make this stuff up. That's a direct quote.
You can't. And that's been a constant theme, believe it or not, at the stop and frisk trial. That part of what they are forced to do, that is the department, is have productivity goals, some would say quotas, and that's done, they're saying, to make sure that all police officers are out there doing what they are supposed to do, and that some are not just sitting in their patrol cars. It's what the department has called 10% of the force at the trial. Meanwhile, as we continue our conversation tonight with the Republican candidate for Mayor Joe Lhota, for sure Democrats will tag Lhota as Rudy Giuliani's deputy mayor when tensions were high with the city's minority community, and of course there was the Amadou Diallo police shooting. Here's how Lhota responds to that.
Rudy Giuliani came in with a vision to make the city a safer place, a vision to make the city a place where people could go about their lives and without fear. And look at where people are living in the city now. Parts of the city that we never thought people would be living in before. Housing developments are going up, low and moderate income housing, affordable housing is going up everywhere, all throughout the city of New York, because Rudy Giuliani had this idea that New York is a place that can be safe again. And I think there's an enormous amount of credit.
But under Mayor Giuliani, there was also Amadou Diallo. Under Mayor Giuliani, there was also a bad relationship with the city's minority community.
Dominic, the actions that happened during the Giuliani administration, the Amadou Diallo thing and the relations that you said with the African-American community, you know, there were no riots during that period of time. There weren't any, you know, Korean incidents like there were during the Dinkins administration. You got to understand that during Rudy Giuliani's administration, more African-American men are alive today because he reduced murder by almost 60%. He deserves to get the credit for that. Rudy Giuliani had a laser-like vision on doing one thing in this city, and that is making it safe where people can live, work, have fun, raise their family, and he deserves an enormous amount of credit for it.
Lhota also says New Yorkers will not, I emphasize, will not be selecting their mayor based on partisan politics. Now, of course, he's going to say that because he's a Republican in an overwhelmingly Democratic city. But whether you're a Democrat or a Republican, modern history says Lhota, in selecting the mayor, may have a point.
Mayors, they want to pick the person who's going to keep them safe, who's going to pick up their garbage, who's going to keep taxes low, who's going to pick up the snow, and that's how they determine who the mayor is going to be. And that's how the decisions are made year in and year out. I'll give you another example. With Mayor Koch passing away a couple of months ago, the whole redid his entire life. Go back to 1977 when Ed Koch was running for mayor. No one expected him to win. That weekend before, the conventional wisdom was Bella Abzug was supposed to come in first, followed by Mario Cuomo in a runoff. Guess what? It was Ed Koch and Mario Cuomo. And then no one gave Koch a chance of beating Mario Cuomo, and he did, because the people went into the voting booth and said, who do we want to be the next leader of New York? Who's got the skills necessary to do the things we want a mayor to do? And I think the people of New York have consistently shown over a very long period of time that they don't vote for a mayor based on whether they're a Republican or a Democrat or a liberal or conservative or a moderate. It's just who's going to be the right person to do the job.
Mr. Lhota, what is the biggest problem facing the city of New York?
Biggest problem facing New York right now is fiscal, because we've got 153 different bargaining units, unions that are without contracts in New York. There's no money in the budget for them. The unions are asking for retroactive pay. There's no money in the budget for retroactive pay. The next mayor is going to have to focus not when he or she becomes the mayor. He's going to have to focus the day after the election during the transition on working with the unions to trying to get some peace. But in addition, that's one of the priorities. The Board of Education, the Department of Education needs an enormous amount of attention. And the next mayor needs to focus on that as well. And a continued laser-like focus on quality of life initiatives. while we've seen murder drop precipitously and continue to drop over the last couple of years, felonious assaults are up almost 14%, rape is up 6%. We need to continue, we need to start seeing all areas of felonies drop.
Do you support the mayor's initiatives, or do you feel we're living in a nanny state?
I agree with you. The mayor's heart is in the right direction about, I grew up as a husky kid. I know what it means to, making sure you're healthy and have to work at it every single day of my life. The fact of the matter is there's two different ways to go about it. And I think his heart is in the right place. I don't think the mind necessarily is perfectly right. To deny people something is different than educating them. Explain to them why salt's not bad. Go out and do an education campaign. Go out and do an education campaign to young people in the inner city about, you know what, if you drink this much Coca-Cola or Pepsi-Cola or some sugared soda drink, you're going to have to walk from where you live all the way out to the Nassau County border and back just to work off the calories. Why don't you have a sugar-free drink, a diet this or a diet that, and really educate them on what it means to have these sugary drinks. There are different ways of going about it. Trans fat is the same way. Flat out denial without an education process. I think as Americans we do a much better job when we educate the public and they make the decision on their own. We steer them in the right direction. We don't row for them. We actually steer them to make the right decision. So I think the mayor's, when he says his number one priority is to keep people alive, I mean, that's a great goal to have. But at the same point, people should also keep themselves alive.
As far as the suspect in Boston, if you're the mayor of New York, which is a possibility, would you be for or against him having a trial here in New York City?
I actually think he should have a trial somewhere not in an urban center, not in a place where a lot of people live. I've thought this for a long time when we bring terrorists from overseas to be actually put on trial in the Southern District of New York. Put them on trial somewhere on a military base, in a regular courtroom, not in a military trial, but somewhere where other people, because look, there's a lot of things going on in New York. New York is a 24-hour city. To burden us with the extra security necessary for a terrorist trial is unnecessary.
Now, Richard, Lhota is trailing all the major Democratic candidates in the polls, but I want to take you back to one point. Remember when Giuliani was mayor and Arafat came to town and Giuliani had him thrown out of that theater? Well, if Lhota is elected mayor, you might see some more of that, because he says that even if you're a Republican, if you voted against Sandy Aid and you come to New York thinking it's an ATM to raise money, Lhota says you will not be welcomed here.
So remember, for everybody who says you can't be a Republican, get elected, last 20 years say different.
Thank
you. Now, we got other New York news here. Governor Cuomo says Monday that he's not talking about running for the Democratic nomination for president in 2016, and he's not waiting to see if Hillary runs or not. Basil, you buying?
No.
Yeah.
No, no. I mean, there's no way that he and Hillary could be in the same race. That just can't happen. Tell
everybody how it works behind the scenes. Does she give him a heads up? Does he learn when the rest of us learn?
I don't know if she gives him a heads up more than a day before she announces. I mean, he'll know when she starts going around the country raising money. That's how he'll know. The reality is that a president has not come from the state of New York since Roosevelt. So he has those odds against him. He cannot run in the same race with Hillary Clinton because she would just take up all the air. And the fact of the matter is the country's talking about her. Not as many people are talking about him right now. So they're waiting to see what she does. And I would imagine most of the Democratic field nationally is waiting to see what she does. So he'll have to wait like everybody else.
Yeah, he may not have the luxury, though, to wait as long as she does, because he won't have the infrastructure of the money.
Right. I mean, he has to make a decision. He doesn't have the same time horizon as she does. That's absolutely correct.
You know, Andrew, we had Jeannie Zaino on yesterday, and she had a really interesting piece about the corruption we talk a lot about Albany, but she had an interesting idea, and it may not be a very popular one, but in short it was, don't make this a part-time job, make it a full-time job to be in the Assembly or State Senate and pay them more. Now, when people see all the crooks that we got that are either doing perp walks right now or being thrown out on their ear for corruption or some kind, it raises an interesting question. I happen to think it's a good idea. Do you think it has a snowball's chance and where of ever getting through?
I don't think it'll get through because you're asking the lawmakers to take money out of their own pockets, and that's not a very popular thing to do. I mean, why would you vote to basically give yourself a pay cut or a power cut in that case? Would it help? I think it would help.
No, but I'm saying it's the opposit. You're asking people to pay them more. I'm saying
No,
you make these guys full-time and pay them more.
But in the total, you know, if I'm a lawyer and I'm a lobbyist on the side, you know, the money that I'm making on my second job plus the money I'm making as a member of the Assembly or as a member of the State Senate, that's going to be more than whatever the pay raise is going to be if they raise my pay.
You know what? Wherever problems people have with Congress, we never hear about while they're in office conflicts of interest. Whether you're in the House or the Senate right now, that they're looking to pad their private industry.
You have huge conflicts of interest with state legislatures.
Yeah.
Every lawyer could be working for his client. He can claim attorney-client privilege. You'll never know. I remember going in the desk to use the phone of a former member, and there were about 10 messages from different law firms right on his desk. You know, I mean, I just knew the names. As I'm making this call, I'm looking at all these cards. So,
yeah. Now, help people out when it comes to how Washington works, and we were just referenced before, Dominic said that if Lhota were mayor, he'd make less welcoming some of the lawmakers who vote against Sandy Aid. But even after it got approved, a fraction, a drop in the bucket, and we just passed the 6-month anniversary of Sandy, has actually gotten here. Chris Christie, governor of Jersey, is going to announce that more than $1.8 billion from federal aid package is officially on its way to homeowners, renters, businesses, local governments. Money won't even get in the hands of those needed until at least the summer. Tell people why. Is that because it has to take this long, or there's some kind of bureaucracy or political agenda?
About $20+ billion. It's a lot of money.
But so little has gotten here. It's already 6 months.
Yeah. Well, yeah, first, I don't fault folks who voted against the package. It was filled with a lot of stuff unrelated to Sandy. And
you still would have voted for it.
No, I would have wanted to. I hope I would have had the courage to not be politically correct, to vote against it, get the crap out, get the bad stuff out of it, and just make sure it was focused on what it was supposed to be focused.
That said, why does it take so long when it's finally approved to get to the people who need it? I'm asking. It's not rhetorical.
No, well, the question is, I don't know. I don't know how much has actually gotten out. I don't know.
They say less than 10%, right, Andrew?
Yep.
Well, it seems like more should get out.
Yeah. I just.
But and so there should be constructive hearings on why, and people should be held accountable. The lawmakers should find out why, not just complain, but find out why and then take care of it.
I just think you said somebody 6 months ago after the storm hit, the governor will be there for you. We're all in New Jersey, we're all in New York. I heard all the words, and yet 6 months later, when they finally approve it, 90 cents of the dollar still hasn't gotten here.
And then when the money is badly spent, you guys will be criticizing them for giving out money that was poorly spent.
Maybe so, but you know what? Sometimes you have to throw money at a problem when people are underwater. And it's not perfect. We saw that with Katrina. The alternative is better than, you know, fighting for a perfect bill here, and people still waiting for the cavalry to come.
The bottom line is it should get out more quickly.
All right, we take a quick break. When we come back, several updates on the issue of gun control and fascinating poll numbers out there, and I really want to get the congressman's take on this, if it might change any minds. We're hearing that they might revisit the idea of background checks. I'm not holding my breath, but we'll tell you what's going on. Stay with us.